You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
Looking to get out there and stay out there? Battleborn Batteries lithium-ion batteries are here to power your RV, marine, and off-grid adventures. Designed as an easy drop-in replacement for traditional lead-acid batteries, these reliable solutions have 2 to 3 times the power, charge 5 times faster, are a fifth of the weight, and last 10 times longer. Offered in a variety of models in unique sizes and shapes, ranging from 50 amp hour to a robust 270 amp hour. And backed by a 10-year warranty. Battleborn batteries are built to fit your needs and power your experiences. On the road, on the water, and off the grid, reliable power is here. Check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.
Welcome to the episode, everyone. As many in the RV world heard over the last few months, Harvest Hosts purchased Escapees. On today's episode, we welcome Joel Holland back on the show to talk about the details of the acquisition. Besides talking about this huge announcement, we also talk about the other companies that fall under Harvest Host's umbrella and about Joel's philosophies about running a business. So let's get into it.
Hey, Joel, welcome back to the show. Before we jump too far into this interview, could we have you just introduce yourself and let everybody know what your role at Harvest Host is?
Sure. Yeah. Great to be back with you guys. I'm a huge RVer. I love RVing, and my role at Harvest Hosts is CEO. I bought the company in 2018. So this is year 6 of running it. We have an amazing team of 80 employees. We have over 5,500 locations now in the Harvest Host network, over 250,000 members. So it's kind of like my dream. This is my dream come to fruition as an RVer. It's a blast. So on a daily basis, who knows what CEO means? I basically just try to take care of the employees, listen to the members, and get more locations.
And you have a lot of impressive numbers right now. Could you tell us, or do you remember what those numbers looked like when you first took over Harvest Host?
I do, yes. So May of 2018, I took over Harvest Hosts. There were 600 hosts at that time.
Mm-hmm.
We now have over 5,500 hosts. We have an additional 3,400 Boondockers welcome locations. And when you put them all together, we have this network of almost 10,000 really special places that you can visit and stay in the US. And I love that. On the member side, there were 6,000 members when I bought the company, and today we have 260,000.
Wow, that's great. And I wanted you to highlight that because as we go through this interview and talk about the acquisition with Escapees, I think sometimes people worry about changes and one company's going to come in, they're going to rattle things up, they're going to make it worse. But you have a history of making things better with companies. So I just wanted to let people know those numbers and just how you grow a company.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, when we do acquisitions, and this is our 6th acquisition in 6 years, we're very deliberate about it. I only buy companies that, number one, are amazing companies, right? So great founders, they have a good purpose. There's something wonderful about the companies. And then I feel like there's something I can add value to them, right? I'm not just buying them to make more money. I'm buying them because I think I can make them better.
Mm-hmm.
And typically that doesn't mean changing the spirit of the program, right? Like if you look at Harvest Hosts, the spirit of the program hasn't changed in 6 years. It's still unique overnight locations, supporting hosts. The hosts don't pay anything. We just have a membership fee. You stay for free as many times as you want. None of that's changed, but we've added a lot of hosts. We added an app, a website. We've spent millions of dollars on product and engineering, making this thing really good. And that's what I'm proud of. The product today is better than the product in 2018. And the founders would admit that, right? It was a wonderful concept and premise. Today, it's just bigger and better. That's exactly what I want to do with Escapees, right? Our first kind of credo when we buy a company is do no harm, right? It's just like the Hippocratic Oath. We don't want to mess it up, right? We're buying good companies. I'm not going to mess it up. I just want to improve them. And so I like using the word improve versus change because I'm really not trying to come in and change them. I want to improve them. And usually that starts with technology. And anyone who's used Escapees, will admit some of the technology is a little old and tired and it needs to be updated. And that's where we luckily have financial resources, an engineering team of 10 that we can put to work improving.
What you said at the beginning there is a great segue into my question, which is what was the thought or what was the drive behind acquiring Escapees?
The main drive, I wanted to get into community. Harvest Hosts is this wonderful product with wonderful members who act a lot like community members. And in fact, when we survey them, they consider Harvest Hosts a community. But I've always thought that's funny because we don't provide any community elements. Escapees is all about community. It is like you join, you might go to Escapade, you might go to Bash. There's 50 different rallies and in-person gatherings per year. There's state chapters, there are regional chapters, there are birds of a feather groups, which are interest groups. This is all community. And like,
Yeah.
I love RVing because it's such a community centric group of people. Basically, I've wanted to build a community for a long time and realized better than building is to purchase an existing community that already has the infrastructure, has the spirit of it going, and then just simply improve it. So yeah, that was exactly why I bought it. I had known Travis and Mel for years. I am and was an Escapees member, and I've attended Escapade and I've been to events, and I love them. They're wonderful. So I'm just really now excited to figure out how we get our Harvest Host members to start meeting up in person.
That brings me to a question. So we did notice, or it appears anyway, that you did not purchase all of Escapees, right? You purchased, I guess, a portion of it. You're not what are you not handling? The mail service and the
And the campgrounds.
campgrounds. Is that about all,
That's
Joel?
it. Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So we bought the membership and the events. Basically, what I would say is the heart of Escapees. The mail servicing, which is a wonderful program for those who use it. Travis and Mel are going to keep running it. We're not changing that. They're not changing it. It is still only available to Escapees members. So we have a contract with them because the reality is we can give them as much business as they can handle. No reason to, change that. And the campgrounds, I know nothing about running campgrounds. It's just not something I want to get into. And they're good at it. So those remain their campgrounds. The Escapees members will continue getting their discount to stay at the campgrounds just like always. So from a member's perspective, nothing's going to change.
Okay. See, this is why I think you're so good for the RV community, because you probably could have, if you wanted to have, bought the whole thing and say, all right, I'm taking the whole thing, but I'm not interested in the mailing part and I'm not interested in the campgrounds. I'm just going to sell that section off. But I would imagine it's a little tricky with this type of deal that you went the extra steps to say, all right, we can purchase, we just want this portion. Melanie, Travis, you keep what you have. I'm sure there's extra steps involved to do that rather than just purchasing the whole thing and then selling a section of it off.
It was one of the more complicated, probably the most
Okay.
complicated deal we've ever done because of that. Trying to figure out how to manage these relationships through contracts and whatnot. But it was a good move because I'm a firm believer to run a good business, you have to be good at the business, right? Like I think I'm good at memberships and communities because I like them and I care about them. I don't know anything about campgrounds or mail servicing. So it's just my heart wouldn't be in it. So it just wouldn't be the right move.
Yeah. So then let me ask you about branding, I guess. Is the section of Escapees that you purchased, the community section of that, will that now fall under the Harvest Host name? Does it keep the Escapees name? How does the naming and the theme work? Does Travis and Melanie keep the Escapees name for the mail forwarding service?
We own the name. We're going to keep the name and we're not going to change it, right? It's a great name.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I didn't change Harvest Host name because I liked the name. I did change the Harvest Host logo because the logo needed to be updated. But honestly, I like the Escapees logo, so I'm probably not going to change that either. Like it's like, hey, don't change what works. And
Right.
this brand has a 40-year reputation built on providing a wonderful product to a lot of people. And I don't want to change that. So we're basically just they're gonna coexist. The Escapees name will live on. We're figuring out how to make it available to our members, right? How we're going to kind of integrate and cross pollinate. We're figuring all that out, but the name stays.
I was thinking about the name because I know probably 2018, 2017 timeframe, there was a sort of a faddish thing going on where some escapers were getting escapers tattoos. There was some benefit to getting this tattoo, and I was like, as soon as I read that you had acquired escapees, I was like, man, if he changes the name, that's going to mess up all these people's tattoos.
Yes, totally. That would be a bummer. Yeah, that's a good reason. Great reason not to do it. One of the first questions I got from the escapees employees was, "Are you going to get the tattoo?" Because Travis has the tattoo, and I told them I can't even commit to a seat on an airplane, so there's no way in hell I'm getting a tattoo.
Tough choices.
Tough choices.
So how about on the Harvest Host side? Will existing Harvest Host members see any different benefits or changes based on the acquisition of escapees?
The short answer is yes. The longer answer is I don't know when. We're trying to figure that out now. So we just finished the acquisition. We just onboarded 15 employees. We're getting them all kind of set up, culturally, integrated. Our goal is to have nothing change this year and just like let things keep going. Like, let's not mess anything up. If there's some places in the technology we can go in and make improvements, for sure we'll do that. But we're trying not to rock the boat. Ultimately, I would like to find a way for Harvest Host members. And when I say ultimately, like next year at this time, we're chatting, and you could ask any Harvest Host member, was the acquisition beneficial for you? And they will say yes. And you can ask any Escapees member, was the acquisition beneficial for you? And they would say yes. And we have some pretty cool ideas on how we're essentially going to get both groups to get more value without spending more money. And that's kind of a key element. Like, this is not a land grab to like raise prices or get extra monetization. It's a way to create community for more people, make the events more popular, and hopefully drive some more retention for Harvest Host members who maybe they're not using the product enough to stay overnight, but now they're really excited they're part of this community.
So I am an Escapees member. I use the mail forwarding service, their roadside assistance. From my standpoint, will I still be able to use the mailing service and still attend the shows, or is that going to be, well, I need a separate membership to do both?
No, good question. And the answer is nothing's going to change. So you'll be able to continue going to shows because you're a member. Your mail servicing doesn't change. Pricing doesn't change. So nothing will change. Now, over time, I would love to find a way, if you're a Harvest Host member and an Escapees member, we're going to, find a way to get you some money back, right? Would be the best. And if you're a member of either or, like, how do we get you on both? Like, we're just trying to figure that out. Because I think I would love for every Escapees member to use Harvest Hosts. Like, that would just be a goal of mine. And I would love for every Harvest Host member to be a part of the Escapees community.
I wonder, Joel, how long it takes, because you said this was probably the most complicated deal you've done. Can you give us any sense on the time frame from first thought to sending out that email, about a month ago now, saying the acquisition was done?
Yeah. So one of the things I spend a lot of my time doing is fostering relationships with people in the RV community. So if you're running a business in the community, I probably, know you, we have a good relationship. I just love to catch up and figure out what's going on. How can I help? What are you seeing? How can we partner? Right? We partner with a lot of groups. And then ultimately, like, hey, could this be an interesting acquisition if there ever is such a time? And so I've been interested in Escapees for years, ever since I learned about them and started attending, and basically became a member. I got to know Travis and Mel over time, and we'd have nice check-ins, talk about the business. And I kind of just floated this concept, hey, if you're ever, thinking about selling the business, please give me a call. And, that was like last year, was when I really first floated that. So whatever, we kept in touch. And then this year got in touch again as we were trying to figure out our roadmap for what are we going to do next. They said, hey, this is becoming more of an interesting option. Like, we never thought about selling. We would never sell to most companies, but Harvest Hosts, we kind of align culturally. We're both trying to do good things for this industry. Let's talk more. And once we kind of had that conversation, things moved fast. And we ended up, it was really only a couple of months from that conversation of, hey, we're open to this idea, to they gave us some financials. We gave them an offer, We're like, here's what we can afford to pay, and we think it's fair. What do you think? A little bit of negotiating, but we were both on the same page, kind of, for the most part. Yeah, and then it was a matter of just doing the deal. And the deal this time took a little more back and forth because we had to figure out, what was staying, what was going, how to, hand off the handshake. It was a bigger deal for me too than any of the others I've done because we had so many employees coming over. Typically, these companies we purchase, like Harvest Hosts, Don and Kim founded it. They were awesome. There was a transition period, and then they sailed off. Same thing for Boondockers Welcome. Same thing for Brit Stops in the UK. This was the first one where we were bringing on employees, and we wanted to do that right because they're great people and we don't want to mess it up. So that added some logistical work as well.
And then I hate to jump around, Joel, but I one more question on the pieces. I know Escapees is big on advocacy, and I think they had an attorney or two that worked with them. What happens with that piece?
Our goal is to have everything seamlessly continue as it was. So the short answer is it's going to continue just as it was. I'm not as close to that piece, to be honest.
Okay.
Right. I'm much more focused on the community events. Advocacy is certainly important. I just have not boned up on it much. But I would say if we were doing it in the past and it was fruitful, then we'll probably keep doing it.
Yeah, I think they lobbied a lot for the RV community, try to keep things opened if something was trying to shut down, or they did a lot for the RV community as far as trying to protect RVers. So hopefully that's something that can continue.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for sure.
And I had a question about the shows themselves. I just went to my first escapade in, oh geez, I'm going to say
Rock
the wrong
Springs.
month. It was in Rock Springs, but I can't remember when that was. And one of the things that I noticed at that show compared to other, I guess you could call rallies that I've been to, is that it was the age group was very similar, but they seemed very active. There was
Hmm.
pickleball games and rave. Oh, I would say almost like rave nights, where they had a very young perspective on things. And I'm hoping that is something that you continue to do. But the other thing I noticed is that they were more pet friendly, I thought, than other rallies, in the sense that there were two dog parks on property and a mobile dog groomer on the property. And that mobile dog groomer, by the very first day, had her whole entire week booked out from, like, she booked her entire week by the end of the first day. Like, that's how popular, traveling with a, and I have a pet, so that's why I'm bringing this up. I hope that is something that continues, that it is still very much, that young, active lifestyle, but also very pet friendly.
Yeah, definitely. Our Harvest Host members over-index on pet ownership compared to the general RV population, and I think the general RV population also over-indexes on pet ownership compared to the normal population. So, I think it's like half. It's like between 50 to 60% of our members have pets. It's really
Wow.
high, and so yeah, I love that. I mean, my goal with these events is to have a high energy level, right? And that can be any age, but ideally, it's a mixture of all ages. And so Escapade's cool because you've got the bash element there, right? The young workers that are,
Yep.
they're by far the most active. They're the ones that go at 2 in the morning, right? I go to bed
Right.
at 10, but then you've got the 2 in the morning people. That's great. You need that energy. And that's, the next Escapade is in Tucson in March. And I'm really excited because this will be the first one where we can hopefully add some resources to make the event even more exciting, right? Like they're already great, but like, hey, I'm currently asking employees and members, where would you spend some money, right? Like, say we've got a little extra cash to splash around for this event. What should we do to make it even better?
Okay.
And I'd love to get more people there, and I'd love to get, I would just love to increase attendance because I think increased attendance has no negative effect on like food or seminars, or it just has a higher energy level, and that's fun.
Yeah, for sure. I do a lot of shows, and I think the attendance of all these shows are declining. And my take on it is the fact that they compete right now with social media. Back in the day, the only way you really got to see somebody might have been at a show, but now with Instagram, Facebook, and stuff, video chatting, they can keep in touch throughout the year. They can see each other through video chatting, and I feel that takes away from shows. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like the shows compete with social media? Will that be a challenge?
That's really interesting. I for sure think that show attendance is declining over time across the board, right? Like I heard that Good Sam rallies back in the day had thousands of attendees. And now they don't even have rallies. A lot of rallies have just stopped. They just don't happen anymore. I know of 3 different groups that don't do them. I know that FMCA rallies are down in attendance and that's a struggle. So, as for the reason why, great question. And sure, I think social media helps people connect on their own. So, you're right. Maybe in the past, you needed the shepherding, right, to get people together. Now you can find your community a little more easily. I also think events just need a shot of fresh blood and energy. Like, I think that maybe this is generalizing, but I don't know if as many young people are interested in rallies, but I think
Mm,
they should be, right? They love events. Like,
yeah.
events are becoming super popular across the country, whether it's Coachella or Burning Man, like you name it. And for whatever reason, RV rallies just don't have that same like panache. So that would be one thing I would love to change is make Escapade the coolest thing in the world for every RVer to go to and then attract everybody.
Yeah, and I will say to counter that is that I think maybe it does play a part into it where the social media side of things does hurt it a little bit. But I will say I do go to a lot of shows, and the thing that I take away most from the shows is that I get to meet new, I'll say fresh, I don't know, new fresh people. And then I keep in touch with them throughout the year. So for every show I go to, I probably pick up 5 to 15 new friends that I really connect with and continue to kind of grow my circle of friends. I have friends now, not only just all across the country, but kind of like worldwide because of going to these events.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that people maybe don't make that connection. They think, well, I got my circle of friends and I'm happy with my circle of friends. But you meet really, really fun, interesting people at the event. I feel like there's no substitute for that in person interaction.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I remember seeing a sign on a Gold's Gym one time that said, "No one regrets going to the gym." I think that's also true for events. Like
Hmm.
no one regrets going to an in-person event because you always leave with some new connection, some new idea, some new like inspiration or energy from something you saw. I wish more people would try it. I think it's easy these days to kind of be a little sheltered. Maybe the pandemic put some of that into motion, and I'd like to change that. Especially for RVers who are already traveling, like get to an event, like go meet
Yeah,
some people. It's fun.
it's fun. It is fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. What other, so you said you've made, this was your 6th acquisition, and I think Kenny and I were pretty familiar with, we actually talked to you about Harvest Hosts and Boondockers Welcome and now Escapees. What are the other companies that fall under that umbrella?
Yep. So following Harvest Hosts and before Boondockers Welcome was a really small company called RV Golf Club. And it was a very similar model. They had 400 golf courses. We now, if you buy a membership, it's one of those, the golf courses are included in all access, or you can do Harvest Host plus golf. So we
Mhm.
kind of we just pushed it into our program, got rid of that name because it had no brand equity. We then purchased Boondockers Welcome, which was fantastic. We then purchased Brit Stops, which is in the UK. And essentially it's Harvest Hosts for England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland,
Oh,
and over 1,100 pub stops, farm shops. It's Harvest Host of UK, and it's really cool. And so we bought that one last year, and that's been a great acquisition. We've really enjoyed learning a lot more about Europe on that front. And this year we also purchased another app in Europe that basically it is like the compendium of the UK that helps people find places to stay. So we bought that and able to help in order to help drive more traffic towards Brit stops. And then
okay.
we bought Escapees, and so that kind of rounds it out. So mostly US based. We found that this model does scale internationally, and so it's been fun. Like going into UK was our first time doing Boondockers Welcome is Canadian based, but Canada and the US share so many like similarities and geographic borders that there was not a big difference.
Mhm.
UK is literally an island. And so learning about how that works and how to sell there and all the different rules, formerly EU, now not EU rules, like it's been a whole learning experience. But what I've learned is there are more similarities than differences in RVers around the world. We're all kind of the same people. We might speak different languages, not in the UK, but for the most part, we're all very similar.
So, do you have a team that runs just your Britstop?
We do. So we have a team of 3 in the UK that are running
Okay.
Brit stops, and we've been able to then use our US team, like marketing as an example, and engineering. So like our engineering team built their whole website and app from scratch, and then our marketing team is the one that's running all the ads. So we're able to, to use that cliche business term synergies. There were some there because we could use our existing teams to do some of this stuff.
And then you also have something, if I'm not mistaken, called Camper's Card or Camper Card.
Yes, so Camper's Card and Camp Scanner are 2 or more products that we actually built ourselves. So those weren't acquisitions. We built them from the ground up. Camper's Card is a discount program. We have over 1,000 campgrounds that are now in the program, and they're great. They're really like they're high quality campgrounds. These are great campgrounds. We're going to find a way to roll that into Harvest Hosts. I think that we need to get it on the map because I've realized as I travel, there's so many apps and websites, and like I just want one place to go for the most part. Like, and I use RV Life for all my planning, the Trip Wizard. Then I use Harvest Host to figure out where I want to go with Harvest Host. I forget to go to Camper's Card sometimes, and I like leave money on the table at these campgrounds. So I want to try to get those pens on the Harvest Host map to make it easier for members who are already traveling to then say, "Oh, cool, there's some great campgrounds." And then Camp Scanner is the program that helps you get last minute cancellations at state parks and national parks. And we basically have partnerships with recreation.gov and Aspira that runs a lot of state parks. So there's like over 11,000 campgrounds in Camp Scanner now. And you can go and put in like Yosemite and say, hey, I'm going, you pick your dates and then set up a scan and it'll simply check for cancellations and text you as soon as one opens up and you can click the link, go straight to the booking system, book it. And it's amazing how many people, even in the most popular campgrounds, are canceling right up until a reservation. So I've been able to get reservations at Yosemite, Acadia, Arches, most recently Grand Teton National Park, getting into Coulter Bay, which has full hookups. Like that's sold out months and months and months ahead of time. I got plenty of spots opened up. So that tool is really, really useful. And I don't think it gets enough love. I wish more people used it because if you're going to a state or a national park, I guarantee you will get you in.
Yeah, I had to be honest, I hadn't heard of it until just now, and it sounds very intriguing to me because it's like some of these places you have to be online exactly at the moment that campsite opens up and hope you click faster than the other people that are on there as well.
That's right. That's right. And it just turns out so many of those people who book, they do it opportunistically and then later cancel because the downside to canceling is so limited. So they
Mhm.
just, is what it is, but they grab the spots and then let them go. And then I'm glad that we're able to then get people into them because that's good for the state park and national park. They actually fill the spots, people get to enjoy it. And it's great for the people who, find them. So
Yeah, I have to agree with Sean. I honestly never heard of it either, Joel, until you just talked about it. And I feel like we try to be in the know of things and we didn't know about it.
yeah, it's a tough one to market, and we tried marketing and advertising it, but it's hard to explain it, right? Like
Mm,
Harvest Host is a little easier. It's like one membership, stay at 5,500 wineries,
yeah,
breweries, etc. Camp Scanner is like scan for cancellations at national parks. What does that mean? Like, how do you put that on a banner or into an email, like or
yeah.
into a Facebook ad? It's tougher. So we've relied mainly on educating Harvest Host members about the program, and that's great. But the people who use it, and we do have thousands of members, they love it. They're like scanning and getting successful finds more often than not.
Okay, great.
It's not open to just Harvest Host members though,
No,
is
it's
it?
open to anybody. Yeah, it's open to
Okay.
anybody, and it's not expensive. It's definitely a tool I would test.
And I got a maybe an oddball question for you because the episode before this is Adventure Genie, and they are using AI for travel assistance when RVing. Is Harvest Host? Are you using AI? Is there a place for AI in your business that you think it can help in any way, or is it something that maybe you're trying to keep out of the business that maybe you don't think it's good for any reason?
No, we do use it. I don't feel the need to call attention to it because I think it's a little bit bandwagony and a little bit it's like back in the day when everyone was calling their companies .com and then tech this and tech that. Like technology is just part of the equation. And AI is now simply a new part of the equation. I certainly didn't want to build our concept around that because I guarantee you in 2 years, AI is no longer the sexy, shiny object. It's just simply part of the equation. So, by the way, I think what Adventure Genie is doing is really cool. It's a neat. It works really well. I've used it. I'm a member. The trip planning feature is helping you find places to go along your route. Awesome. We also do some of that stuff. We just don't really call attention to it. But we are finding ways, especially for photos. So you'll notice one of the things now when you go to Harvest Host profiles, photos are now categorized. You can see parking photos, food. Like that was all done by AI. Basically, ChatGPT went through our entire library, tagged all the photos, picked out the best ones, puts the best ones first. It's because you can do some smart stuff like that. It'd be like say, hey, pretend you're a fine arts, photography student in college. Look at these photos with an eye for the best and rank them and then put them first. And so it's just a better experience then for people that are looking. So yeah, all that was done with AI.
Okay.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. So as we're learning here, you have done a few acquisitions now. Was there anything in this that surprised you or was more challenging or maybe even, I don't know, or have you done it enough times that now it's kind of routine and everything went real smooth?
It's becoming more routine. The first one was the hardest because I'd never done it. And then you realize that like at the end of the day, it's a relatively simple formula. Find a good business run by good people that you think you can actually improve, right? Or for some reason, like you care about and can do something to make it a better business. And then you find a price that both parties are willing to accept. That part it can be the hardest part. There are plenty of businesses that I've wanted to purchase where we just weren't, on the same page with price. And, that's fine. A company is worth what the owner is willing to sell it for at the end of the day. And sometimes that's not the same price that I can afford to pay. But luckily with these 6 acquisitions, we found a fair price for both sides and we've been able to add value to the businesses. And that's going to be my kind of continued approach going forward. Harvest Host cash flows positively. We're essentially using our cash instead of paying out dividends to buy more companies that will benefit our members. I mean, that's the basic premise. So our cadence has been about 1 per year. This year we did 2, but I like that cadence. It seems like we can handle that. Now, every time you buy a company and bring it in, you add complexity to the organization. It just gets harder. So that's something you always have to keep your eye on and manage. I don't want my employees to burn out. Like, I think work should be just the right amount of challenging and fun. Like, you don't want it to be boring, but you also don't want to like tear your hair out or miss your family. So that's like kind of taking a pulse on that. Like, how much more can we absorb before it's too much, right? Because that's another question I don't think enough companies ask themselves. Like, when is enough enough, right? I'm not trying to build Amazon over here. Right? I'm just trying to build a cool company in the RV space. So I'm trying to be aware that at a certain point we'll be like, hey, we've done it.
That's great to hear, especially in the space that you are in. You don't want your employees to be so burned out that they can't go out and enjoy their RVs. And because I'm sure a lot of the people in the companies can't too, I would imagine.
Yes. Yeah, totally. I think work can be fun, especially a company like this. And so I don't want to ruin that.
And is it safe to say that the thing that you're most excited about, I think I've got from this conversation, the thing that you're most excited about with the Escapees acquisition is that community aspect, building that community?
Absolutely right. I'm really excited. I've wanted to have community in some form or fashion since day one. And it's always been on like the roadmap. It was going to be something we never got to. And so this is a great forcing mechanism to just really like dive in head first because I think RVers more than most people are just a social bunch and giving them tools to connect with each other is going to be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to figure out, or to see, you maybe you're already thinking about this, but how to tie community into the British companies as well.
Yeah, totally. We just one of the big projects there was digitization. They were on a book still, and so we had to go in and actually build the digital product. and then wean everyone off the book. And that took quite a lot of work. It's always more work than you expect, always like that. And luckily we know that now, but then even knowing it, it's more work than that. So it's that was quite a project. And yeah, we're trying to figure out what's next for the Brit Stops product. Like, how do we make this more engaging, more sticky, more exciting? Community probably is part of that.
So did you have to scan the books? Is that how you? I mean, I don't. How do you even do that?
So luckily they did have the data they would send to the printer. So we had the actual like text, but then yes, we had to basically put that onto a map, create profile pages, build the mapping functionality. We were able to use a lot of the Harvest Host's core elements, right, from our app and website. So that was great that we didn't have to like build that from the ground up. And then really it was the communication plan of how do you tell people who for the last 10 years have relied on a book that it's 2024, there's no more book, right? Like, and the nice thing is because I kind of did it with Harvest Hosts, they didn't have a book, but they still had a directory that they distributed. And, I'm like, look, we're adding so many new locations every month. This thing's outdated the minute you buy it. That's crazy. So at a minimum, like be excited that you now have a digital product that has up-to-date information in it. And of course, everyone really quickly goes from grumbling to being like, yeah, okay, cool, this is better.
Okay. And I have a question for you that I probably should know, but I don't know. So on Harvest Host right now, somebody stays at a location. Is there a rating system to that? And my follow-up question to it is, if there is, can another member ask somebody that has stayed at that Harvest Host a question? Can they say, hey, I saw you left this rating. I have a question. I have a dog. Was it, did you find it safe for your dog, or any type of question? Can members kind of communicate to one another right now through Harvest Host?
So the answer is no,
Okay.
but I can't wait for that to change.
Okay.
So that is one of these kind of like community elements that I want to put into place at the same time as we start really making a like line in the sand to say we are now a community, more social company. And I think being able to communicate with other members is awesome. Just like that. Like, hey, tell me about your experience at this winery. How was it? Right. Or
Yeah.
even just throwing out there, like I'm traveling with, 2 dogs through Michigan. Any suggestions? I mean, it's just like, it's like the next door instead of for your neighborhood, it's for your RV, like, community.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of stuff we can do there and we're working on it.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep. Yep.
Well, Joel, I expected when we talked to you today, based on the growth of your company over the last several years, that you would have gray hair and bags under your eyes and be a little grumpy, but it doesn't seem like you're that way. So it seems like you're really enjoying the work, and that's good to see.
Oh yeah, I have a blast. I mean, I think that again goes back to I'm a firm believer that you can have fun working and you can live where you want, right? Like our company's fully remote. All 80 employees
Oh,
work wherever they want. And I happen to love Vail, Colorado. I'm a huge skier and I love the outdoors. So I've lived here for the last 8 years. So the whole time I've had Harvest Host, I've been in Vail. I love it. It's so neat to be able to like live somewhere and work somewhere that makes you happy. And then it's really rewarding to work on something that feels good and makes you happy. So yeah, I have a couple young kids, so I do have some gray hairs from that. Um, but I don't think they're from Harvest Hosts. Yeah.
Well, I think that's all of our questions for you today, Joel. Is there something that we missed that you wanted to mention that or would like to add?
No, I mean, look, if anyone listening to this, if you have any suggestions for how we can improve the company, either for escapees or Harvest Hosts or Boondockers Welcome, it doesn't matter. Like we're just trying to build a really cool company for the RV community. If you have any ideas or suggestions, I'm just Joel at harvesthost.com. Shoot me a note. Love to connect. And thanks, to both of you for having me on to talk.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably have you on again in a couple of years to see what you've done since now, because you're doing incredible things in the RV space.
I appreciate that. It's a fun space.
We're probably not supposed to have favorite guests, but if we did, Joel would be one of mine. I always enjoy hearing what he and Harvest Host is up to, and I truly believe Joel is going to be able to make improvements to the escapee experience, especially at the rallies. I know he is serious when he says he wants you to reach out to him with any good ideas that you may have for them as they move forward. Well, that's the show for today. We'll be back in 2 weeks, but in the meantime, come visit us on our socials over at Instagram or Facebook. Leave us a comment about today's episode. Also, we'd really appreciate if you left us a rating or review on your favorite podcast platform. Take care all and safe travels. Looking to get out there and stay out there? Battleborn Batteries lithium-ion batteries are here to power your RV, marine, and off-grid adventures. Designed as an easy drop-in replacement for traditional lead-acid batteries, these reliable solutions have 2 to 3 times the power, charge 5 times faster, are a fifth of the weight, and last 10 times longer. Offered in a variety of models in unique sizes and shapes, ranging from 50 amp hour to a robust 270 amp hour, and backed by a 10-year warranty. Battleborn batteries are built to fit your needs and power your experiences. On the road, on the water, and off the grid, reliable power is here. Check them out at battlebornbatteries.com. With the complexity of all the systems in an RV, I always say it's not if something's going to break, but a matter of when is something going to break. That is why I think an extended warranty for RVs is so important. We first interviewed Wholesale Warranties back in 2019 and immediately became impressed with how their policies worked, such as you can take your RV to any licensed repair shop, including mobile repairs. They also have personalized service plans, making sure you are getting the right policy for your needs. And if you think your RV is too old for a policy, you might be surprised to hear that RVs up to 20 years old can still be approved for a policy. That is more age lenient than most RV parks I've stayed at. Go to wholesalewarranties.com/beyond the wheel or click the link down below in our show notes to get your free quote today.